2025 is shaping up to be an insane year for gaming, with a lineup that feels like it's coming straight for your free time. From long-awaited sequels to brand new IPs dripping with potential, there's something here that's already fueling countless conversations. In this video, we're diving into some of the most exciting games on the horizon. So, without further ado, let's get straight into it. Let's start strong with Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater. It's funny, when Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater got announced, it practically broke the internet. And yet, here we are, still waiting. 2025's looking like the year the jungle finally calls us back, and I think the wait will be totally worth it. For anyone who played the original Metal Gear Solid 3, you already know, this is the one. The game that took everything great about tactical espionage action and cranked it into something bold and cinematic. Reimagining it with modern tech has so much potential, not just visually, but in terms of how the environments feel alive. Imagine stalking through the jungle with adaptive wildlife AI or engaging in camo mechanics that actually respond to dynamic lighting. Sounds slick, right? Here's the thing, remakes are always dodgy terrain. You want to respect the original while keeping it fresh, something that's easier said than done. So far, from what I've seen, Delta's walking that tightrope. Every screen and snippet we've gotten points to a faithful reimagining, and that's all I need. Snake's heartbreak, his evolution, that haunting jungle, all made timeless again. It's bold to say, but I think Snake Eater might just be one of those games that defines this new era of remakes. Next up is Kingdom Come: Deliverance 2. You know, Kingdom Come: Deliverance was that rare RPG that felt refreshingly human. No dragons, no chosen ones, just you, Henry, a blacksmith's kid tossed into the chaos of medieval Bohemia. It was brutal, grounded, and unapologetically challenging, and now this sequel is picking up that torch. Warhorse Studios has come a long way since Kickstarter funded the original back in 2014, and this sequel feels like a victory lap infused with ambition. Creative director Daniel Vavra even said this is the game they wanted to make before but couldn't, so you know they've saved some surprises for us. Deliverance 2 keeps those hardcore survival mechanics intact. Eating, sleeping, and planning battles like your life depends on it because, well, it does. At the same time, Henry's story evolves, diving deeper into the web of medieval politics and personal struggles. What I'm curious about is how far they push their realistic RPG approach this time around. The first game thrived on its authenticity, but could feel punishing. Will Warhorse balance that raw grittiness while refining the rough edges? With over 8 million copies of the original sold, they've got a loyal fan base, and February 4th feels like a moment years in the making. Coming in next is Little Nightmares 3. Little Nightmares 3 is on deck, and honestly, I'm already bracing for the goosebumps. If you've played the first two games, you know what I mean. This series is a masterclass at making your palms sweat while creeping you out in the most gorgeous way possible. But the kicker this time, the real game changer, 2 playable characters. That's right, you're not going it alone this time. You and your nightmare buddy are teaming up to unravel puzzles, escape sinister shadows, and probably scream in unison when a giant doll suddenly comes to life. The thing I adore about this series is its ability to be eerie without jumping into full-on gore. It's all about the atmosphere. Take one eerie corridor, toss in oversized furniture for that Alice in Wonderland meets your worst fear vibe, and then drop some twitchy creature in the background. Bam! Instant anxiety. Little Nightmares has always walked the line between creepy and strangely beautiful, and judging by the sneak peeks, that balance is alive and well here. 2025 is already shaping up to be packed with ambitious titles, but sometimes you just need something smaller and more intimate. Something that can unsettle you without needing hundreds of hours of your time or an over-the-top narrative twist. Can't wait to dive into its dark, twisted dreamscape, or, well, nightmarescape. Another game that I'm totally excited is Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. You know how Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth felt like a chaotic Hawaiian retreat? Well, imagine that same trip, but instead of turn-based combat, you're swinging a katana while yelling something dramatic in Japanese. That, my friends, is Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. This spin-off feels like RGG Studio decided to turn the wackiness dial up to full blast. And honestly, I'm all in. The setting's still drenched in Hawaiian vibes, so we're getting all that tropical charm and sand between the toes exploration. But this time, the combat's back to its action roots. For those who weren't huge fans of Infinite Wealth's turn-based battles, this one's serving up something closer to Yakuza 0 or Kiwami. Fast, intense fights and enough swordplay to live out every swashbuckling fantasy. And yeah, naval combat. What even is this game? What I really love is how the series keeps finding ways to reinvent itself while holding tight to its signature madness and heartfelt storytelling. Sure, you'll be battling on boats, but at some point you know they'll sneak in karaoke or a fishing minigame. That's just how this series rolls. It's one absurd surprise after another, and we wouldn't have it any other way. Next up, we have Monster Hunter Wilds. Let's talk about Monster Hunter Wilds because this one, for me, feels big. Monster Hunter's transformation with World was like watching a shy kid step onto a stage and absolutely crush a performance. It brought the series into the mainstream in a way that even Capcom probably didn't fully anticipate. So the expectations for Monster Hunter Wilds is just massive. I was lucky enough to get my hands on it a couple of times now, and let me just say, this thing feels right. The first major shift is the new weather and season system. It's not just for looks either. Imagine stalking a Rathalos during a snowstorm that actively messes with your visibility, or adjusting your strategy because a heat wave disrupts some of your gear. Stuff like this is a game changer for that classic loop. While the weapons are still being polished during the testing, I already feel versatile, with new combos and tweaks that make each one hit fresh. Hunts now flow more organically. Fights are less about rigid patterns and more about reading the monster's behavior. And the world, it's got these layered ecosystems that genuinely feel like they're teeming with life. Look, I've been a loyal fan of the Monster Hunter series since the PSP days, which is why I'm so excited about the arrival of this game. Oh, and by the way, it's coming out next month. Up next, we have Assassin's Creed Shadows. If there's one thing Assassin's Creed excels at, it's taking historical moments and wrapping them up in an epic playground of intrigue and action. And finally, we're heading to feudal Japan. For longtime fans like anyone who obsessively watched Assassin's Creed's cryptic future settings tease, this is the dream game we've been waiting over a decade for. Assassin's Creed Shadows brings us to the twilight of the Sengoku period. But here's the twist. It's not just about ninjas and samurai. It's about perspective. Naoi, a cunning shinobi, and Yasuke, the African samurai who actually existed in history, each bring distinct gameplay styles, and get this, it lets you juggle both. It's kind of bridging the gap between AC's older style of stealthy parkour and the RPG-heavy combat of recent games. Now, Assassin's Creed games have their thing with delays, and yeah, Shadows was supposed to hit last year. And later, it was announced for a February 2025 release. But guess what? Ubisoft has delayed it again, pushing the release to March 2025. Maybe it was for the best, right? More time to finesse all those cherry blossom-filled landscapes and shinobi assassinations we'll never stop replaying. If nothing else, this setting has been the fan request for years, so fingers crossed Ubisoft nails it. Let's be honest, they kinda have to. Because, you know, people's minds are still fresh with the mess that happened with Star Wars Outlaws last year. Next up, we have Death Stranding 2 on the beach. You gotta hand it to Kojima. He's always out there, throwing curveballs nobody else even dreams of. Death Stranding 2, or On the Beach, already sounds like it's gonna crank the weird up to levels we didn't think were even possible. I mean, the first game gave us a courier sim with horror, philosophy, and strands of humanity literally woven into the gameplay. Now, where do you even take that? Knowing Kojima, though, he's not just repeating himself. He's probably cooked up something that's gonna melt our brains all over again. And honestly, isn't that part of the fun? Trying to wrap your head around whatever layers of madness he's about to pull out? What's on Sam Porter Bridges' plate this time? Who even knows? And what about the supporting cast? Are we getting more of Fragile, Deadman, or someone entirely new? Kojima's games are always these weird cultural moments where you're not just playing, you're dissecting them, theorizing, trying to connect dots that might not even exist. The lead up to release is going to be wild once Sony kicks in its marketing steamroller. Oh, and let's not forget the gameplay. The first one flipped expectations like crazy. Are we surfing tidal waves now? Balancing cargo on the moon? Whatever's coming, you know it's going to be nothing short of iconic. Another noteworthy game to look forward is Mafia: The Old Country. Mafia's coming back, and this time we're heading straight into the heart of Italy. Now here's the funny thing about Mafia. It's one of those series that kind of sneaks up on you. Like, it doesn't always make huge waves, but when it hits, it hits. We saw that with the original trilogy, and now The Old Country might be poised to do it all over again. I mean, have you seen that reveal trailer from the Game Awards? Now, the music, the tension, it's like it's begging you to get lost in this world of crime and family dynamics. The fact that we haven't seen gameplay yet could be risky, but in a way, it builds the mystique, doesn't it? With the setting returning to the series' Italian roots, there's this kind of quiet promise of something more grounded, more authentic. Remember how Mafia 3 kind of missed the mark with all that open-world filler stuff? Hopefully, this one tunes into tighter storytelling, something sharp and cinematic. Mafia's always been about the narrative punch, and if the old country gets that right, we're golden. Next up is Ghost of Yotei. You know, sometimes a sequel doesn't even need a long pitch to make waves. It just needs the promise of more. That's kind of where Ghost of Yotei is sitting right now. Think about how Ghost of Tsushima wrapped up its story. Jin's journey was this sweeping, emotional samurai sandbox that people still talk about like it launched last week. So this game is already landing in that rare must-play zone way ahead of time. Sony teased this one during its 2024 September State of Play, which, let's be honest, was already a loaded event. And yet Ghost of Yotei immediately grabbed the spotlight. Sucker Punch is in an interesting position here. They don't have to reinvent the wheel, they just have to refine it. A more fluid combat system, maybe expanding the current arsenal beyond the sword, and obviously a world that feels even more alive, dynamic, dangerous. There's speculation about new weather systems, more verticality, and weapon stances tied directly to enemy types. The team nailed the tone and aesthetic of Tsushima, so just the idea of them stepping it up with PS5 power is wild. Sure, Sony's being its usual secretive self about this one, but you know it's going to be the jewel in their 2025 crown. And finally, we have Grand Theft Auto 6. There's no polite way to tiptoe around it. This is the one. The game everyone on the planet's been theorizing and memeing into existence for years now. Grand Theft Auto 6. Just saying the name feels heavy with expectation, doesn't it? And really, can you blame anyone? Rockstar has spent more than a decade perfecting this moment. GTA 5 is still dominating the charts right now. So, imagine what years of added polish and tech bring to its successor. Since its monumental reveal back in December 2023, the buzz hasn't stopped. When Rockstar does open worlds, they don't just build maps, they create ecosystems. Cities feel like living, breathing organisms, and you're not just playing in them, you're shaped by them. The fan theories alone are wild. A return to Vice City has been teased, and if rumors hold, GTA 6 could feature two protagonists, like a Bonnie and Clyde duo navigating relationships, crime, and chaos. And can we talk about Rockstar's rumored AI tech? NPCs that learn your behaviors, dynamic weather that impacts missions, and look, it's all speculation now, but that's part of the fun with Rockstar. Here's the thing though, expectations come with weight. Is it too ambitious? Could delays push it into 2026? The craziest part is that Rockstar knows all of this. Their games are cultural shocks. They mold the industry. Whatever GTA 6 ends up being, you can't deny one thing. It's going to define the conversation for years. There are still plenty of promising games coming out this year, such as Civilization 7, Fragpunk, Borderlands 4, and many more. Among all these upcoming titles, I'm hyped about the ones I've mentioned on this list. So, which game are you looking forward to this year? Let us know in the comments below.